neighbors, it's Sharon from Grace's Neighbors Sharon. Thank you for clicking on my video. Welcome or welcome back. I hope you enjoy what I put together for this video. I am a playlist poster, which means almost all my videos are part of a playlist, collaboration, challenge, however you want to call it. And I really enjoy being part of a community that shares ideas and crafts on their own within the same theme, and what everybody comes up with. All that is just a lot of fun for YouTube crafters. With all that being said, let's get to crafting. This video is part of the What Would You Make playlist for the month of May, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it after the first project. Okay, project number one is Show Me the Honey. It's a shelf leaner, and this is how I put it together. I started by releasing the trim or the border. This sign is made up of three hexagons, but they're like all one piece. So I'm removing the border from the whole sign and just using my X-Acto knife to make sure we have a clean release and we don't pull up too much paper, because I'm actually keeping the paper on my Show Me the Honey part of the sign. I dragged out my miter saw, my little hand saw, and then I just found a good spot to get the shape the same and released it from its companions there. I'm going to do the same with the border, only I just used my X-Acto knife for that. And it did come up with a lot of paper, so I'm just sanding it to get it smoothed down for when I glue it. And then I came in with some black acrylic paint because I wanted that border to pop. I know it's going to be glued onto a black background, but I still wanted the actual border part to pop. I spread some Mod Podge on it, and then I put the border down while the Mod Podge was still wet, and so that acted as a glue. Then I'm going to go around all the sides with some hot glue, just hot glue this time. And we're going to put the rope in to give it a nice clean border. And then I use my finger protector to push the rope down into all the corners and trimmed away the fuzzies, though I do go back in with my lighter and burn them off, but I didn't get that on camera. I'm just going to put some gold down, kind of like how you would distress something on the edges, but I'm using the gold instead of like a burnt umber or a white. And I'm just trying to put the gold anywhere where the sign is not going to be. That way that black border pops, but for some reason I put gold on the border. I just wasn't thinking, so I do go back and make it black again. But for now I'm going to glue it to the house, and that's just wood glue. And since I'm a two glue kind of gal, I also added some hot glue, and I try to keep the two glues apart because it actually does affect the adhesion. And that pretty much took just a minute, and it was on there nice. But it did come in with more rope and clean up that border as well. And then I found this in my stash. It's the back of a frame that I never used, and with a little bit of trimming, it fits the back of this house. So this leaner doesn't actually have to lean on its own. It's going to lean by itself. It doesn't have to go up against a lamp or another book or something. And again, I'm going in with my two glues. This time it's wood glue and all-purpose glue. And then the backing just goes right down. And again, it doesn't take long at all before that's adhered. But just to be on the safe side, I do use my little grippies clamps. They're not super heavy duty, but they work for this kind of project. And then I just went through my little bees. They were different shapes and sizes, and I didn't realize they were as big as they are. But yeah, here I am going back in with the black again. We're going to leave it black. And then to embellish it, I took this white flower and cut out the middle because it had a bunch of pearls on it. I wanted the middle to have that empty space so I can glue down the little flower. And then a shoestring bow right on top of the sign, and some really nice pics of this in the final reveal. Jumping in with a little bit more information about the playlist. It happens every month. It's the What Would You Make challenge. No theme, just make sure your projects are all made out of wood. Our hosts are Brenda from Rustic and Lace DIY, Christine from Divine Designs, and then our guest host this month is AUREA from DIY with AUREA. Their channel links and a link to the playlist will be in my description box below. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Okay, project number 2 I call a shredded bee wall hanging. And you may be wondering why I am calling it shredded bee, but you're just going to have to keep watching. I got this bee off eBay. It's a 1/4 inch thick. I was able to choose the thickness and the size. I believe it's 3 inches. I might be wrong. And then I recently purchased a bunch of old brass hardware and things like that. And one of the boxes had shredded paper for the packaging material instead of like the brown rolled up paper. It had the shredded paper, and I was like, oh, I can use that to make my homemade paper, my recycled paper. And then I noticed there was some colors that stood out. One was yellow, orange, blue, and black. And it reminded me of images of bees I'd seen that looked like they had been made strips and pieces of things and then photographs. So I thought, well, I can do this, but I can do it for real. And so I wanted the wings to be black and white. So I actually just used black and white shreds on the wings. I'm only using a glue stick. That's all I need. I thought that was the best way to do it because it's not super messy. And it's just like if I was decoupaging, I use it for decoupaging. So I just put my wing shreds on a diagonal and just tried to follow the shape of the bee. I went in before and I used a white marker to sort of determine where the shapes and the borders would be. So now the head is going to be all black. So I just keep adding a little bit more of the glue stick and getting the shred on there, and you can actually slide it or move around a little bit after you put it down. We're just going to do the whole head with the black shreds. And that's the fun part. We get to do the stripes on the bee. So we're starting with the yellow. And I love that the yellow's got the little bits of letters on it. I love how that looks. So cool. I'm so happy I got to do something like this, because I've been wanting to do something similar for a long time. So I think it took about 3 or 4 shreds, and then we switched to black, 3 or 4 shreds, and then we switched back to yellow. And yeah, I could have fast forwarded this, but I just liked how they came together, and I liked being able to see like the whole thing at once. So I kept it all. And now we're going to go back to black to finish things up here. And then I have this special pair of scissors. I'm not quite sure. There's some kind of hardware scissors or something. And I'm going to use that to do the trimming because they're very sharp and very precise. You'll see here in just a second. Okay, there's those scissors. If somebody knows what they're called, let me know. But I'm just going to cut the overhang, And then I come in and trim a little bit on the inside of the bee as well. And then when I'm all done with that, I'll come in with some sandpaper to do the edges. Oh, I think I Mod Podge it, actually. I don't know if I showed that. But I do Mod Podge it, let it dry before I start handling it. This is a Chalk Couture stencil. It was for like a tea towel, a border for a tea towel. I'm going to use it to create a background for my bee. This is not white. This is some kind of like tan or plaster or something. And I just decided it would look good against the wood on the top of the sign, so that's why I used it. White probably would have looked fine, but for every reason, this is what I decided on. The spacing is a little bit uneven, but it's going to work for me because the bee is going to be on the bottom 2 rows, and then I have some letters that are going in the top row. So it works out. Now, originally I wanted to create a much bigger sign that said, "You can call me Queen Bee," and then instead of the word bee, it would have the bee down on the bottom of the sign. But this sign is too small. I didn't think it was going to look good trying to cramp all those words into that little spot. So I'm just going to put Queen Bee. The queen is the most important bee in the colony, and the colony basically does not survive without the queen. So like when bee people are trying to like remove or transfer bees from one location to another, they have to find the queen. And if they put the queen in a box, all the bees in the colony will go into the box. It's crazy. Can you tell I've been watching some YouTube videos on bees? All right, we're just going to put these are Scrabble letters that I had. I forgot I still had these. They were very trendy a while back, but not so much lately. But I think they're going to look great on this sign. And I actually had all the letters I needed. And look at that Chalk Couture. Did you see how nice that came out? And I didn't take a break in between. I just did it really fast and then washed it right after. So my bee is coming in on the bottom 2 rows, and I like it on a diagonal like this. I think it looks much better than straight up or straight down. I'm just going to do a black border. I like how that looks. I like how it just kind of defines, especially the wings. Because the border, the background, I mean, is a little busy. So you want to define the shape of the bee, the bee body. And that's just a Funsil's acrylic paint marker. And then since the antenna got messed up, I don't know if I showed it, but one came off and I couldn't find it, so I just used a knife to take the other off. And I'm just going to paint this wire with the black acrylic paint, the same paint as on the bee, or the same paint I'm using. Anyways, yeah, and then roll it on a dowel. And then I'm just going to glue that on the back end of the bee. And then put a little bit of Dollar Tree vinyl on top, just to help it adhere. I do use glue as well. And I'm sorry, I didn't know I left in so much of this. Alright, so since I'm a 2-glue kind of gal, I'm going to get my 2 glues down there. The tacky glue to start. It doesn't really matter the order as long as they don't touch each other. There's the hot glue, and then we'll just put the Dollar Tree ribbon down. I just kind of trimmed it to shape. I'm not even going to wait for the glue to dry. I'm just going to put it down right away as soon as I get it off the backing here. There we go. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure it was going to stay flat. I didn't want it lifting up. Perfect. Okay. We are almost done. Alright, so since I'm a two glue kind of gal, we're using two glues again. This time we're starting with the all-purpose glue. Almost finished, but I already purchased a new tube ready to go. And then I'm also going to put down the hot glue, again making sure the two don't touch. And that's going to get this on the background and literally dries in like 5 seconds. So here's what my shredded sign looks like, and you'll get some more pics in the final reveal. Okay, our third and final project is this yellow halo sign, more of a bee inspired craft or piece of decor rather than an actual bee decor. But we're going to go with it. So I have this Dollar Tree snowflake sign, and I was just looking for something to put my little hexagon hello sign up against. And when I was going through my tote, I was like, this seems like it would be big enough, and it was. So I drew some lines, and that's what you see. I'm running my knife over the lines and then breaking them away after a few times. And that's all I had to do to get that ready. I took some sandpaper to it because it cracked in a few places. But it's ready for when the hello sign is ready. The hello sign will be ready after we finish painting it here. And I'm using just the regular black acrylic paint. A little more of that gold. But we're going to leave the hello regular black. And I'm sorry I didn't get it on camera, but I did paint the wood yellow with some white and light yellow distress. I'm doing some painting of the wood beads here. These are Amazon beads. They're my favorite beads to use for wall hangings or signs. I just swished them around in some watered down paint and sort of scooped them out with my skewer. And when it seemed that they weren't yellow enough or dark enough, I added some yellow paint to the lid that they're on, and I moved them around in that yellow paint till I was happy. And then, when I was happy, I used my skewer again to scoop them up out of the lid. And then I'm going to keep them on that skewer until they dry. And I'm just going to poke the bottom of the skewer into this little thing of rope here, or twine. And then when they're all dry, we can start making our hanging sign. I just sort of create a pattern in my head and then start threading the beads onto the rope. And I really love this combination of the buffalo check with the black and the yellow. Definitely be inspired. Alright, since I'm a two glue kind of gal, I'm coming in with two glues again. This is tacky glue at first. It doesn't matter the order. Then this is all-purpose glue. And as long as they don't touch, we're okay. And it just barely fits on there. I cut that snowflake closer than comfort. And then something weird happens at the end here. I'm cleaning up the glue and everything. And when the video finishes, these are on top of it, but that made the glue squirt out, and I had to sort of clean it, and it was off just a little bit because it sort of moved when I set the heavy objects on it. So there's like a larger gap on one side than the other, but you can't really tell. You really have to inspect it. So we're going to go ahead and finish this up. Here's some lace, black lace ribbon that's going on top. And I'm just going to pop a little bow in the middle. I'm sorry, a little flower in the middle of the bow. Not this yellow one though, that's a little bit too big. I find one that's a little smaller that I like better. So we'll pop that on there, cut the tails of the bow on an angle, and we're pretty much done with this bee inspired wall hanging. I'll just pop a few little bees on there. These bees are actually a bit bigger than I thought. I got like a mix of sizes in this little container, and I'm used to them all being one small size, but I think it looks good. I can pretend they're like bee families or whatever. To finish things up though, I am gonna drill a couple holes. I really like using drill holes for my wall hanging signs. I just feel better about it rather than just gluing or hot gluing. And this time we're just going to tie some knots on the back and then pull the knot nice and tight, and better look in the final reveal.